have two additional bands, and that's 32.5% and 35%. So currently we have 5 bands in operation. If it's a corporate that's deriving its income from Kenya, then we will tax the income at 30% for resident companies. And we have said resident being that you are incorporated in Kenya, or the management or control is in Kenya, or you're gazetted as residents in Kenya. For non-residents who have permanent establishments in Kenya, the tax rate was previously 37.5%, currently is, but with the Finance Act of 2023, this rate is being harmonized to the resident rate, which is 30%, with effect from 1st January 2024. So corporates on business income will be taxed at 30%, having been allowed the allowable deductions. On employment income, when it comes to an individual, we apply the graduated scale, as we have discussed, the 10%, 25, 30, 32.5, and 35%. The amounts are actually available on the KRA website, but we say that the first 24,000 is taxed at 10%, the next 8,333, 25%, the additional at 30%, the additional 300 at 32.5, and an additional 500 at 35%. So the bands seek to address the amount of income that individuals derive. Then we have income from property or rental income. So you could be having a property that you probably left in Kenya when you went to the UAE, probably for greener pastures, and the property is being rented out for residential purposes. So we have the taxation regime, 2 taxation regimes. One is the monthly regime, where the gross rent is taxed at 10% on a monthly basis. So if you're getting 50,000 from that unit, then tax is expected at 10% from that 50,000 on a monthly basis. With effect from 1st January 2024, the rate will be at 7.5%, so it has actually gone down as a result of the Finance Act of 2023. We also have non-residents. So maybe you don't fit into any of the categories of residency. You've been away from the country, you don't have a permanent home, and so you are considered non-resident, but you have a property within Kenya. The tax is at 30% for non-residents. Under the income tax, we also look at gains when we transfer property. And so with effect from 1st January 2023, the tax is at 15% on the gain on the transfer of the property. So we look at the difference between the receipt, what you actually get upon disposal of that property, and we deduct the cost or the adjusted cost of you acquiring that property, and the gain is what is subject to tax at 15%. When we transfer property, we have some simplified tax regimes with effect from 1st January. We have just discussed, and we have turnover tax. The tax is at 15%. Turnover tax on the gain to the target of the property. So we look at the difference between the receipt and what you actually get upon disposal of that property, turnover of 1 million to 25 the cost. You may have noticed the change or the adjusted cost of acquiring that property, and the gain is what is subject to tax, and the change of the rate from 1% to 3% property as a result of the financial tax regime. So those who are individuals who are engaged, turnover tax is at 15% on the particular turnover of 1 million to 25. So we look at the small and the micro corporate, and what you tax is levied on turnover tax as 3% of the gross turnover of 1 million to 25. You may have noticed the change or we also have and the gain is what is subject to tax, and change of the rate from 1% to transfer property on the non-residents. So who offer those who are individuals who are digital services, electronic services, so the GST is at 1.5%, we have provided a simplified framework for such service providers. We are the UAE non-resident and you may have noticed we also electronic digital participants or digital countries and the tax that we have verified for instance on the non-resident who offer the allowed requires the return and digital services electronic services. So we alluded to the media associations alliance education for excellence where you consider research service provider have included at the UAE because you were here for the number of days that we had. So Kenya currently has a trade tax with the UAE and RTA offers the allowed address the issue of double taxation, so it gives relief for deduction. So we alluded to the media associations alliance the Kenyans for excellence where you consider research services providers have included at the UAE jurisdictions to ensure there is no double taxation. So currently we have 16 PTAs with the one with UAE was signed at the against the issue of forced terrorism, so it gives relief for information available. So we alluded to the issue together with all the other the Kenyans for excellence or where we consider research services providers have included at the jurisdiction website to ensure there is no double taxation. So currently we have 17 PTAs the one we have provides relief to Kenyans with disabilities and the information available. So we are also for the Kenyans who are subject to tax or upon proving that they have actually deducted website for you to get tax relief, you need to prove that currently we have 17 countries. The one we have provides relief so we have discussed the analysis also for celebrate residents who are residents for upon proving that they have actually website for you to get tax relief, you need to prove that currently we have 17 countries. Under DTD we provide relief and this largely falls under registration discussed filing payment. So we have out to meet residents who are subject to the act that they have participated and we're able to deduct reports on the various categories of taxes that we have discussed, to VAT, excise duty, turnover tax, and we're able to get that information for the taxpayers. Which is important. We had talked about that one of these filing through IBIT, whether you are an individual, we have out to meet that you're driving in subject to the act, and we've also looked at the place where you're driving, and we're able to deduct the country budget on the various categories you need to have a scheme discussed so that you're able to file your return item. We know that for an individual, the accounting period is financial year from January to December, and so you're expected to file your return by the 20th of July for the same IBT. While for companies, we have added out to the driving period. Nonetheless, the return is very and you're able to deduct the end of the financial period. But with companies, we have the issue of being able to file your expenses and the balance below that for an individual, which is the accounting period in the first financial year after your financial year. So you're expected to file your return. So by the filing, the sum is basically a declaration of your value and income and period. It specifies applications whether you're filing VAT or income tax, and we have late filing penalties, so we have deadlines for each tax head, like the monthly tax balance with VAT for excise to your excise in the first financial year after your previously shown the 20th. So when you file your filing payment on the 20th, it's basically what you have changed the issue your tax and issues to your annual excise for VAT. It specifies applications whether you're filing VAT or been a change in the deadline, and we have late filing penalties, so we have within 24 hours to tax head, like the monthly, so we have different VAT for excise and late filing for late payment after your previously shown the 20th. So we've talked about accurate, so when you file your tax payment on filing your return, what you have changed facilitates us and issues clients for VAT. It specifies applications whether you're filing. We've talked about the application in the is more congested, high, and also within the revenue committee conducts the entire audit for the taxpayer and classifies all these areas of trust. So we've talked about accurate so when you file your tax we currently are running two programs. We have the voluntary tax disclosure program and we have the amnesty program, which Miriam has already talked about. The voluntary tax disclosure program is running for the last 5 years, starting from 1st January 2021 and comes to an end on 31st December this year. And these are programs to encourage the taxpayer to account for voluntarily disclose any losses that they have been exposed to in the investigation. In 2021, once the taxpayer has made that disclosure, then they would get 100% of the remission waiver for the penalty and the interest. In the second year, which was in 2022, we only get 50% remission of the penalty. So we pay the principal plus 50% interest. And in this year, that has been reduced to 25%. So you get to pay the principal, penalties, and interest at 25%. But we have the amnesty program, which has better advantages than this voluntary disclosure program, as you will find when Miriam makes the presentation. So this is just to encourage the taxpayers to come forth, make the disclosures, and then we get a fresh start and you don't have to worry about back taxes. At this point, I would like to introduce Miriam to take us through the tax amnesty program. Karibu, Miriam.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda, for taking us through that portion. I just want to show my face and say hi. This is Miriam. Maybe the lighting is not very good, but I'll be switching off my video during my presentation. I'll be taking you through the amnesty program, which has been now running for 2 months. And as I take you through, I'll be taking you through what you need to know about the tax amnesty, where, when, why, all that, so that at the end of this presentation, you'll be able to understand properly about the amnesty and you may take advantage of it. To start us off, we used to have the waiver program. And the waiver program, maybe we need to understand why do we have amnesty on interest and penalties. Interest and penalties arise as a result of failing to file or filing late or as a result of paying late. So when a taxpayer files the return late or pays late, they will incur interest and penalties. And before, when you incur interest and penalties, you would need to apply for a waiver. The difference between a waiver and an amnesty is that on waivers, there were justifications that were provided in the law, which one had to meet for them to get the waiver. But the good thing about the amnesty is they have removed the justification that the taxpayer needed to make for them to qualify, and instead have replaced the waiver with the amnesty. So with the amnesty, you just qualify as long as you meet the criteria, and no justification is needed from the taxpayer side. So the Finance Act 2023 introduced the tax amnesty of interest and penalties. And when it introduced, it inserted Section 37E on the Tax Procedures Act, which now talks about the amnesty. But at the same time, the same Finance Act deleted Section 89 that was about waivers, meaning going forward, if a taxpayer fails to file or to pay on time, they will not be entitled to any waiver or write-off, which used to happen before. And then the taxpayer will qualify for amnesty under 2 categories. We have 2 categories on which you can qualify for amnesty on interest and penalty. The first category of taxpayer are those taxpayers who will require to apply for the amnesty. And the second category will not need to apply for the amnesty, but both of them will qualify. Which category needs not to apply? These are taxpayers who did not have any principal taxes for periods up to 31st December 2022. So when we talk about the amnesty, the only people who will benefit, or the only debt that will benefit from this amnesty, is debt for periods up to 31st December 2022 going backwards. Any debt from January will not qualify for amnesty. So for the taxpayers who did not have any principal taxes in their ledger or don't have any principal as at now, they will not need to apply, but will get the automatic amnesty. But the second category will require to apply. And these are taxpayers, when they look at their records for before 31st December 2022, going backwards, and they find an element of principal tax, those ones we require to apply. I've been getting questions, what do you mean by principal tax? What is this principal tax you're talking about? Principal tax is the amount you declare either through self-assessment. You say this month I will pay 20,000 or the amount that is raised upon you upon audit. If an audit is carried on your farm and they say that you needed to pay 20,000, that is the principal tax. So in case you have any principal taxes that you're not paid on time, that is what you will need to make an amnesty application for. Can we go to the next slide? And once you make an amnesty application, the amnesty started on 1st of September 2023 and will run all the way up to 30th of June 2024. Kindly show the presentation.
Yes, they want me to share.
Are you able to see the presentation?
Now we can see.
Okay, let me project from my side. Thank you.
No, we can see it. I think Linda needs to take it to the amnesty slides. Can you see it yourself, Miriam?
Sharing.
Yes, I shared it myself. I don't know whether everybody can see it because it disappeared on my side. Then I tried to share it. From my side, I can see it. I don't know whether the others can see it.
I confirm I can see. We can see.
You can see the page that starts with tax amnesty will be applicable on all interest.
Yes, we can see the cursor. Yes, we can see that.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So the tax amnesty will be applicable on all interest, penalties, and fines on tax debt relating to periods up to 31st December 2022. And when we talk about the tax period, we mean assuming that an assessment is raised today, you will also benefit as long as that assessment is for periods up to 31st December 2022. The same applies to a court case. If somebody has a court case that is ongoing and the decision is made today, but the court case was on assessment that was done in the year 2019, the taxpayer will also benefit. So when we look at amnesty, we are looking at it per period and not when the assessment was made, the date it was put in the system. And despite applying for the amnesty, a taxpayer will only qualify upon payment of all the principal taxes in that period. So when a taxpayer goes to apply for amnesty, I've talked about the two categories. The first one that will not need to apply, that will get automatic amnesty. The second one will need to apply. And why do they need to apply? It's because during application for the amnesty, you will also be required to give a payment plan on how you will pay the debt, but the last date of payment should not go past 30th of June 2024 because the amnesty ends on 30th June 2024. So if you apply for amnesty today, you can request for 7 installments. When you apply next month, you will ask for 6 because they will keep on reducing until 30th of June 2024. But despite applying, if we come to 30th of June 2024 and find that you have not paid all the principal taxes, the period for which you will not have paid will not get amnesty. And as I mentioned, Section 89 was deleted on waiver. So meaning any debt accrued from 1st January 2023 on interest and penalties will not get the amnesty. There are some clarifications that I wish you would get on the tax amnesty. There's been questions on treatment of year-end transactions, assuming it's a VAT taxpayer or income tax, and the VAT was for the period December 2022. some people ask, do these December transactions qualify for amnesty? Because when you look at VAT for December, it's payable on January. Yes, VAT for December will qualify for amnesty because we are looking at the period for which that tax was for. We are not looking at the date it was payable. The same applies to year-end transactions for companies. If the year-end is up to 31st December 2022, it will qualify for tax amnesty, despite the fact that the balance tax is payable within the year. As we also talk about the tax amnesty, there are some cases that have been excluded from amnesty, and those are custom duties. Any levies and duties charged under ECMA, that is East African Community Customs Management Act, they don't qualify for amnesty. And also current taxes, that is from January. I've talked about exclusion because there is no waiver from January. Also, any interest and penalties accrued from January 1st, 2023 will not qualify for tax amnesty. And also, we have other penalties charged under Section 85, that is tax avoidance. If an audit was done on you and penalties, you were found to have done tax avoidance, and penalties were charged on you under Section 85, you will also not, those penalties will not qualify for tax amnesty. And how are we effecting this tax amnesty? KRA is effecting it in 3 ways. We have a system solution where if you want to get this amnesty, you just go and apply. And I will also repeat, the only people who will apply if you have principal taxes outstanding. If you don't have principal taxes outstanding, you will qualify for the automatic one. So when you go to the system, you'll find a tab where you will select all the periods that you want to apply for amnesty or a payment plan. Once you select, it will sum all the amounts and you will state the number of installments you wish to apply for. Provided now the maximum you can ask for is 7, because amnesty started in September, it will run up to June. Once you pick the number of installments, the system will calculate for you the amount you will be required to pay every month, and then you will be required to honor the plan as committed. There are some terms and conditions to be met once you apply for that amnesty, and I'll only mention 2 terms and conditions that are critical. Number 1 is, in case you find you have committed to pay your debt in a particular number of installments and you find you are likely to default on one, you are requested or required to go talk to your relationship manager or debt manager to restructure and inform them that because of such and such a situation, I'm not able to honor my plan, so I will pay the following month, but pay this amount. So ensure you restructure before you default. The second term I wish to bring to your attention is, in case you default, before making such arrangements, the collection procedure will follow, meaning the debt can be exposed to agency notices and any other enforcement tools. So we encourage, in case you encounter something that you are likely to default on your debt, restructure the plan so that you don't default. And also treatment of objection cases and invalid debt cases, ledger correction and capital payment objection decision system issues. We are requesting that in case you come across some issues in your ledger that will prevent you from taking up the amnesty, bring all these issues to the attention of your debt officer so that they can be corrected and you can benefit from the amnesty. We have done several materials. In case you want to learn more about the amnesty, when you go to KRA website, you will find this is the link shown on the screen are the ones that talk about the amnesty. When you go to our website, you can type that, you'll find guidelines on tax amnesty, which is a more detailed document on it. We have also done a system on amnesty, which you just go to iTax, you will do an application through our system. We have also been carrying various stakeholder engagement, just like the one we are doing today, and we always post this engagement on our social media pages, on Twitter, on Facebook, And also sometimes you will find, on many forums, even we reach out to taxpayers directly. So keep watching on such forums so that you can join and understand more about the amnesty. We also did a public notice on the same, and we sent emails to taxpayers. And on the part of email, I would wish to mention something before I pass. When we send the emails to taxpayers communicating to them about the amnesty, we have noted a lot of emails bounce back, meaning taxpayers have provided the wrong email address. As we champion and also publicize amnesty, we are also calling upon taxpayers to amend their contact details. If you use a cyber cafe to open for you, speak when you're setting a PIN, or you are using your accountant's details for your VAT or pay as you earn obligations, we advise you to confirm whether the emails are correct, because we are experiencing a lot of bounce back, meaning the messages are not reaching the targeted audience. The same applies to SMSs. We are planning to do a major campaign on SMSs telling taxpayers about the amnesty. And if you have provided the wrong phone number, it means you will not get these offers that KRA is giving to taxpayers. And also, when you go to our website, you'll find FAQs, frequently asked questions. Every time we hold such a forum, we reach out and collect all questions that come up. And in case they're not in our FAQs, we update the same. So when you go to our website and type FAQs on amnesty, you'll see a lot of questions that we might not have covered during this session. What are we asking from you as taxpayers? We ask you to be our voice out there, because I can see the attendance is not very big, but I believe we have so many taxpayers out there and clients, if I may say so. You are our clients. There are so many clients out there in UAE who can benefit from this amnesty. And example of such, if I may mention a few, are non-filers. I believe most people, many taxpayers are not aware when you have a PIN, you need to file. And most people, when they travel abroad, they stop filing their returns. Even if you're not earning, you need to file a new return. So unless you file your return, you will be going to your ledger thinking you don't have any debt because you cannot see it. But penalties are usually imposed upon filing. So talk to your friends to file. If they are out there, they have never filed since they moved out, they need to file all their returns, because upon filing, penalties will be imposed, and then they will benefit from the amnesty, because the amnesty will come to wipe out all those penalties for periods they never filed, so that they don't come back maybe next year when the amnesty program has ended. They want to buy land, they want to buy property, only to be told you need a tax compliance certificate. When you go to get the tax compliance certificate, you're told you have never filed the returns for 6 years. When they file, they are met with huge penalties, which they will have to pay since waivers have been deleted, and yet they never took advantage of the amnesty. So we are calling you to be our voice out there. Tell taxpayers to file so that they can benefit from the tax amnesty. We also request you, in case you have principal taxes, I know there are some people out there who have businesses in Kenya. In case they are not regularized, there are some amounts that you have never paid. You take advantage of the amnesty, apply for it, ask for payment plan, pay slowly before 30th of June, and then you'll benefit from amnesty. For every period you clear, you will get amnesty on that period. Also, provide any requested reconciliation documents. In case you are doing business or even you are employed, sometimes you might find debts in your ledger that you don't agree with. In case you come across such debt that you feel this is not a real debt, provide any reconciliation documents requested for, so that we can conclude the reconciliation and you can benefit from the amnesty. Also from January, given that I've talked about there will never be waivers starting from 1st January going forward, we encourage you to file returns. Come next year, the individual returns should be filed from January to June. Start filing your returns, because From January next year, if you don't file your return, it means the return for this year is due next year, January. If you don't file, there will be no waiver, there will be no amnesty. In case you have you had a case that maybe went to court and it has been concluded, and when you check your ledger, you find still the old amount, bring that to our attention so that we can follow up and the correct decision, decided amount is captured. We also encouraging out-of-court settlement. You consider alternative dispute resolution, and this happens where maybe there is an assessment that was raised on your business or on you, and you did not agree with it. Most of the time, you start with IRO, independent review of objection. If you don't agree, you appeal to the next level. Sometimes, in case it goes to court, it might take such a long time.
Too much.
And you don't know when the court decision will be made. So we are encouraging, in case you have a case that is going on in court, IRO, touching on tax matters, consider alternative dispute resolution, because there the decisions are made faster, so that you can reach a final decision and come up with a plan and take advantage of the amnesty. And also, there, in case you have employees, maybe back down here, who need P9, we encourage you to give them P9, because an employee cannot file a return without a P9. In case you have assessments that were raised that have not been raised in the system, but you are paying for those assessments, bring them to our attention. We will ensure they are put in the system. And I've talked in detail about filing or missing returns. So in case you have not filed your return, you will not benefit from amnesty. And this is the point that really affects the people in the diaspora. When they travel, they forget to file their returns. And every year you fail to file a return, penalties are imposed on you. You will not see them. You will see them the moment you will file, even if it's after 10 years. So we encourage you to file the return. Once you file, all penalties will be waived through amnesty going up to December 2022, and you'll benefit from amnesty. So we encourage you to file your return. And also we encourage voluntary tax disclosure. As Linda was doing the presentation, she talked about a program that has been running for 3 years.
Okay, huyu kwenye presentation yake ilikuwa mrefu hivi.
In that program, when you did the first year, you would get 100%, then 50, and currently is a bit better. Now, you have seen the exclusion is only on 3. Penalties charged under Section 85, penalties charged under custom, and penalties from January. Meaning, even if you took voluntary disclosure program and you have not yet paid, you will get the 100% amnesty on interest and penalties as long as you pay before 30th of June 2024. So we encourage, even if you have taken that voluntary disclosure program, kindly honor your plan, make sure the principal taxes are paid, and you'll get the amnesty. And before I finish, I just want to finalize by mentioning how will you know amnesty has been effected on your system. So that, because taxpayers are saying, how do we know that KRA is saying the truth? How will we know that this amnesty is true? We are effecting amnesty in 3 ways. Number one, if you have outstanding principal taxes, once you apply for the amnesty in the system, any period without principal, the penalties will be removed automatically. If you try that, you will not. By application for the period with principal, the others without principal with only penalties, the penalties will be written off. The second way is upon payment. For the periods that have principal taxes, once you clear paying, the interest and penalties will clear. The third one is the automatic one, where taxpayers will not need to apply or pay because they don't have principal taxes, and that is a solution that will be delivered, I believe, before the end of this month, because it covers a lot of taxpayers and it is intensive on the system. So it will be delivered before the end of the month. So immediately after the interest and penalties are waived, a taxpayer will get a certificate confirming you have gotten amnesty on such interest and penalties. So thank you very much for your time. Back to you, the host.
That I've always known
Thank you, Miriam, and thank you, Linda, for your presentation, very detailed presentation. I'm sure there are questions for us, but thank you for highlighting the taxes, the indirect taxes and direct taxes applicable to our brothers and sisters abroad. I would like to recognize the presence of the Honorable Member of Parliament and the Chairperson of National Assembly Committee responsible for diaspora affairs and migrant workers, Honorable Lydia Haika. Mheshimiwa, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Thank you very much for finding time to join us. Are we able to see you? Are you able to put your camera on?
Let me try.
Thank you very much.
Okay, in a short while.
All right. So thank you. Okay. Thank you for being here. We are joined by Kenyans in the UAE. We have mission, Kenyan mission staff joining us as well. From the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora, we have the director in charge of investments joining us in this call. Yourself, we are hoping, I don't know whether your colleagues are here. I've only taken note of your presence. But
I think I'm the only one.
An invite. Okay.
Are you able to see me now?
Sadly, no, not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Let me keep. Okay, let me try. Father. Oh.
Ah, good. Yes, we can see your beautiful face. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Can I just give you a quick 2 minutes to just say hello and maybe some remarks?
Yes, of course. I'll try and be fast, but allow me to give my remarks.
Okay.
And I want to thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can see you as well.
Very well. So the representatives of Kenyan ambassador to the UAE, Chief Manager, International Relations and Diplomacy, KRA, Senior KRA official, representative of State Department of Diaspora, and everyone else who has joined. Good afternoon, good evening. I want to...
Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to appreciate this opportunity and thank the KRA for organizing this forum. And my fellow Kenyans living in the UAE for finding time to also participate. Allow me to begin by giving you a brief on diaspora affairs and the Migrant Workers Committee. This is the first time as a committee of its kind in Kenya Parliament, with the mandate of considering matters, all matters, be they policies or programs that touches on the Kenyan in diaspora and the migrant workers. This requires us, as a committee, to hold the executive into account to ensure that the welfare of Kenyans living in and working in abroad is promoted, and that they have access to government services like any other Kenyan. Indeed, we know that diaspora remittances have overtaken traditional foreign exchange earners, and they currently Kenyan highest foreign exchange earner. What this means is that it is important. You are an important partner in our country development, and as a country, and the government institution must ensure diaspora have access to government services and that your welfare is promoted. I recall my committee held a meeting with KRA in June this year, and some of the concerns raised were on the issues of double taxation of Kenyans living in abroad. These forums are important as they educate our Kenyans on tax obligation, filing their returns, resident requirements, etc. However, KRA must go beyond this and propose necessary changes to laws that may appear punitive to Kenyans in the diaspora or returning residents. I say this bearing in mind the recent public outcry over the harassment of travelers at the JKIA by KRA and the manner in which KRA officials have implemented the East African Community Custom Management Act on the payment of tax for goods valued over US dollars 500. I suggest that KRA proposes amendments, and we shall work together to able to assist you on the amendments to that act and raise that value. Further, that KRA also negotiates for double taxation agreements with other countries where a majority of Kenyan residents reside. Let us also ensure that we engage our diaspora during public participation on laws that directly affect them in line with Article 118 of our Constitution. As we implement the existing laws, I urge KRA to ensure that we do not claw back to the gains we have achieved from our diaspora, and more importantly, that we do not encourage them from either returning back home as visitors or residents. We do not discourage them, We do not discourage them from either returning back home as visitors or as residents. As you educate Kenyans living in diaspora on tax obligation to ensure compliance, let them know of the existing tax incentives, which I've just had being mentioned. I'm very happy that they are there. They can benefit from, but also go beyond that and propose more taxes incentive that will encourage them to invest back home. I want to really appreciate this opportunity and thank you all for your time and for getting us to this kind of a meeting. Thank you very much. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. Thank you for making time. Thank you for your remarks. We are happy that you found time to be here. We have taken note. Some of what you have mentioned are action on the part of KRA, but we have taken note. We promise and commit that we will look into addressing some of these issues you have pointed out. Mheshimiwa, I wish to maybe just bring to your attention that this webinar has been jointly hosted by the Ministry and KRA. So we do this jointly together with the State Department for Diaspora Affairs. So this is jointly convened for our diaspora brothers and sisters. Again, we thank you so much. I hope that you will stay till the end.
Yes, I'm going to try.
We'll be happy to have you. Thank you very much.
I really want
thank you.
To.
So with yes. We're still doing the activities. Thank you very much. I wanted to say that you, with your permission, maybe you allow us to get a few questions following the presentations we've had.
Yes.
Yes, and just to welcome
you to listen
in. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. I have received questions on the chat. Thank you very much, Madam. Linda and Miriam, we have questions. I don't know whether you'd want me to read through or probably allow you to read through as you answer. There's one asking about the difference between the resident tax. I'm not sure whether it's very clear. Linda, are you able to see the first question? Kindly, can you highlight again on who is a tax resident versus tax residents? Confirm in no permanent resident in Kenya and not stayed in Kenya for 122 days, that is over 3 years. One is not a resident for tax purposes. Linda, please take note of that question. The other question is, this is touching on customs. This will be addressed after the presentation. Where can I find information that has been addressed? I hope the recording, okay. Linda, maybe you can do a retake on that question. And if it's not clear, I'll ask the person who has posted it to kindly elaborate. But if you are clear on it, maybe you could go ahead and give clarity.
Thank you, Sheila. I'd actually seen the question on the chat from Ed and responded to it on the chat, but I don't mind repeating that. So when you're looking at residency, we look at two conditions, whether you have a permanent home or you don't have a permanent home. So Ed's question comes from where you don't have a permanent home, and it looks at the number of days. So according to the provisions of the law, we look at whether you've been present in that particular year of income and for how many days you have been there. So the first condition is if you have been here in Kenya for 183 days for that particular year of income, you qualify to be resident. If you don't meet the 183 days, we go to the second condition and we look at whether you've been in Kenya in that year of income, say 2023, and the preceding 2 years of income. So we look at 2022, 2021, and we do an average to see whether it gets us to 122 days or more, which will make you resident. So that's the criteria that we use to determine residency on the part of the individual. Thank you, Sheila, and back to you.
Thank you for that clarification. This one, the next question is for Miriam. Miriam, there's a question on amnesty, and this is still Ed, and he's saying the meeting is one-sided in terms of tax, our obligation to pay them, including amnesty. Can we also hear about other services and support? I expect, okay. Okay, this was following the presentation by Miriam. It's not a question, but an observation from Ed, and that is noted. We have two other presentations. I beg with you that you stay on as we take on the presentation by Customs. And I would like to invite Adanje Chibole to get ready to take the mic from me and take over the presentation. But I'm seeing Simon saying, we are most interested in airport tax. That is coming shortly in the custom presentation. Yeah, that is the last question I'm seeing on the chat. Adanje?
Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for honoring us and joining the invite. The State Department of Diaspora Affairs for collectively organizing for this meeting. In the chat, clearly customs matters are of interest, and I will jump right into it by sharing the presentation.
Thank you, Adanje. Are we able to see your lovely face?
Not while I'm sharing the presentation. Please confirm.
All right.
You see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. I also want to take this opportunity just before you start to invite the custom colleagues on the call to help us with addressing some of the chats already, touching on airport arrival procedures, questions around that, if we can already start responding to them on the chat. Thank you, Adanje, and over to you.
Well guided, our team is on it. They'll be responding as we proceed in the interest of saving time. And also like to acknowledge that, yes, the information that we are sharing is a lot, as so we organize for the presentation to be shared, just for you to have time to process it all. And I'll jump right into it. My name is Ndanje Chibole, presenting on behalf of the Customs and Border Control Department from the Policy and International Affairs Division. Today I will outline what is the role of customs and where we are embedded in terms of executing a mandate, the cargo clearance process, I saw a question on that, exemptions to arriving passengers, I saw a question on that in the chat, returning residents and returning diplomats, deceased persons, person effects, and motor vehicles, and the frequent scenarios that we have witnessed from returning residents or
We can hear you, Adanje. Yes, we can hear you.
So one of the role of customs is revenue collection, trade statistics, prospection of society.
This meeting is being recorded.
prohibited goods, and this probably answers the concept of why we verify consignments or why you have the goods or the baggage that you have searched. Under risk profiling, so that applies in protection of society. Trade facilitation, where we're shipping goods for trade purposes, and as I mentioned, revenue collection. It is one of the departments in KRA. It is mandated to deal with the imports for home use, transit, transshipment, exports of goods, and air passenger clearance. What is the cargo clearance process? Now, an importer appoints a clearing agent, and for this, it's applying where the goods are coming and you're not accompanying them. So it's not air passenger, just to clarify. So there you have goods that are coming maybe by container or by courier. What is the process of clearing them? You will appoint a clearing agent licensed by the Commission of Customs. The agent will be able to access our system to make declarations. That is basically telling us what is being carried, what is on board, what is the quantity, and what are the values, and we'll be able to tell you what are the taxes paid. All taxes are to be paid by the bank, and at this point I will emphasize we encourage direct payments where you are the one who pays the Commission of Customs for the taxes. The declaration is supported by supporting evidence such as an invoice, a parking list, if there are necessary permits that are required. This will stipulate the values, the detailed description of the goods, the quantities, and also country of origin. Why we require this information is for risk profiling. That way we're able to know which container do we need to stop to verify, which one can just be scanned, and which one can be cleared to. There's a list of licensed customs agents on our website. We'll put the link there for your reference later. What other charges are charged on goods upon clearance? We are answering this because we often a Kenyan will come, or even an importer in general will come, pay the customs duties, pay the VAT, the excise, all that is on the declaration, but they are not aware that there are other charges. There are demurrage charges, which are storage charges at your port of clearance or at the freight terminal that you choose to clear from. The clearing agent's fees are separate from the taxation fees. There will be port charges or CFS charges, and the other fees and levies payable on permits and certificates at our respective PGA. PGA stands for Partner Government Agency. Say you're bringing a medical equipment or medicine for that matter, you'll be dealing with PTB, Poison and Pharmacy Board. And so if they have levies that is charged on that, that is charged separately outside of what you declare to KRA. What are the exemptions accorded to arriving passengers? I know this is an area of interest for today's conversation. Arriving passengers enjoy exemptions on the following. One, and it's good to just note the wording and what it means. The property of and accompanying the passenger. This means you've landed at JKA, you have your goods, those goods are yours. I say that because we have cases where a passenger will come and they have goods that are not theirs. Probably someone sent you, take this to my aunt, take this to my, so the goods are not yours. The property of and accompanying the passenger. For the personal or household use of the passenger in a partner state. Personal or household use. You can have a property that is yours, but it's not for personal use. It's probably a commercial, it's for commercial use, so it gets disqualified. Of such kind and in such quantities as a proper officer may allow. Why we give the officer on the ground discretionary powers to exercise this is because sometimes you would probably have quantities that normally someone would say, this is unreasonable. But once you explain yourself, once you're able to justify and be able to account for it, then the officer has discretion to an extent and with a point of escalation. The officer can make a decision to escalate it to their supervisor and so on and so on forth. The following goods shall, however, not be exempted. These ones are clearly stipulated. This is guided by the East Africa Customs Community Management Act. You can find it online, 2004, and under the 5th schedule, you can clearly find this well stipulated in the Act. So the following goods are, however, not exempted. Alcoholic beverages of all kinds, perfume, spirits, tobacco, and products therefore, except where they are imported in allowable quantities. We will highlight that where what quantity is allowable for alcoholic beverage, for perfumes, for spirits, and for tobacco. Fabrics in pieces, that is not exempt, that you'll be required to pay taxes. What that means is, allow me to go layman here, like when you just bring kitenge, a piece of kitenge or lessons, it has not been made into any fabric. It has not been made into any apparel, wearing apparel. It is just the fabric itself that you will have to pay for taxes. Any trade goods or goods for sale or disposal to other persons. Remember the conditions we just highlighted up there. Property of and accompanying the passenger for the personal or household use. So any trade goods or goods for sale or disposal to other persons is exempt. At this point, I'd also like to emphasize KRA implements the law as is. Where there is requirement to amend, as Honorable Aika has said, we welcome all proposals that you put to the table and say where your pain points are so that you're able to consider them when you're making amendments or taking it up with EAC. Goods purchased for personal use whose value exceeds USD 500. I'll take you back up and allow me to just stay on this slide for long because I know this is where the pain point is from the chart. We just said that it is personal and household use. So if you've used something, you've been UAE, you're 2 years, 3 years, whatever period of time, and you have used something, it's definitely not going to be charged. But goods purchased, yes, it's for personal use. Now it qualifies for personal use, but it's goods purchased for personal use whose value exceeds USD 500, that will be exempt. Gifts will be exempt. So you will have to pay taxes for that. I'll move on now to explain what are the limitations. Remember we talked about alcohol, perfumes, cigarettes, spirits, tobacco. For spirits, including liquors, it should not exceed 1 liter. Anything below 1 liter, it's exempt. Wine should not exceed 2 liters. Perfumes and toilet water should not exceed in total 1.5, of which only a quarter should be perfume. I will re-emphasize again that this is the law as is. Cigarettes, cigars, sherrod, cigarillos, tobacco, and snuff, and products for snuffing. So anything tobacco and manufacturers of it should not exceed 250 grams in weight. Any excess over and above the stated quantity will be charged applicable taxes according to EAC CET. That means East Africa Community Common External Tariff 2022. Remember, spirits, wines, whiskey, cigarettes, perfumes, all these other products that we have talked about, they're accessible goods and they will require an import permit where taxes are payable. That is also part of the law under the Excise Duty Act. What you need to declare upon arrival. The list looks long, but these are just the mandatory ones that you need to pay attention. Items you inherited while abroad. Items you bought in a duty-free shop, trip or plane, whatever means of transport you came with. Repairs, alteration to any items you took abroad and then brought back. What this means is I have probably a machine that I already had brought into the country, paid taxes. I came here, it became faulty. I was going back to the country where I bought it and decided to take it with me for repairs. It has now been repaired. When I'm coming back, I need to declare it. Why? There are chances then we will charge you taxes against a machine that you're bringing it in altogether. But if you declare this item has gone for repairs, then it is only charged on the repair charges where applicable. So whether the repairs was charged or not, kindly declare. Items you brought home for someone else, including gifts. Items you intend to sell or use in business. So these are basically trade goods, including business merchandise that you took out of Kenya on your trip. Now, allow me to just make a detour here and say, declaring doesn't mean you have to pay taxes. Once you declare, then the officer on ground is able to guide you. This qualifies, this doesn't. Or this one you need to pay this one you don't need. Currency above 10,000 or its equivalent must be declared at customs arrival. Remember again, our customs mandate is not just revenue collection, it's protection of society, it's trade statistics. So when you ask me, sometimes you ask me, if I'm not paying taxes, why am I declaring? The mandate goes beyond revenue collection. Goods purchased by the passenger for own use or whose value exceeds USD 500. not only will you declare the items to us, but to the extent and most that you can, kindly declare the price for which you paid for, and if it was a gift, what is the fair market value for that price. The other aspect is returning residents. We'll start with the definition, although GTD has already defined a resident. So a returning resident is a person changing residence from a person placed outside Kenya to a place within Kenya. And for this reason, a Kenyan living in diaspora returning home would qualify as a returning resident. Now, this extends that we are not just talking to you as just air passengers, we also are hoping that after some time you will come back home where you are permanently changing residence. Now, this starts applying mostly because now you probably have a container, you have a motor vehicle that you've used there and you want to come with it. So what then is required of you? Returning residents shall be granted, exemption shall be granted to returning residents who have attained the age of 18. Why do we say this? I'll just put different scenario. We'd have a scenario of someone who's a Kenyan, they have come back, but probably their child is 16 years and they have a vehicle. For countries where you're allowed to drive from the age of 16, they have a vehicle registered in their name. That child will not then qualify because they have not attained the age of 16. But the parents, for anything that is registered under their name, they will then qualify. Personal effects must be accompanied, must be imported within 3 months of arrival or such further period as the commissioner may allow on application by the applicant, but not exceeding 360 days. It means that once you arrive into the country, the law allows you 3 months for when your goods should have also arrived into the country. But should there be one reason or the other why your goods do not make it into the country, at least within the 360 days, you can apply for an extension of the stay. Now, what exemptions are available to returning residents? Wearing clothes, wearing apparel, personal and household effects. You find that in your container, it's yours, we have no problem, it's your child, it's your household effects, you have the whole house, so it has your washing machine, your fridge, that is okay. One personal motor vehicle, excluding buses and minibuses. And I think this is pretty obvious because buses and minibuses tend to be trade or commercial vehicles. So one personal motor vehicle owned and used by the returning resident for at least 12 months prior to returning. Please, what emphasis are on owned. So we need a logbook to demonstrate the ownership and used by the returning resident for at least 12 months prior to returning. Exempt taxes, what is it that you're exempting when you say you're exempt? You're exempting the import duty, the excise, the VAT, and the IDF. IDF is import declaration form. What you are, however, not exempt is RDL, which is the Railway Development Levy. That one you pay at the rate of 1.5% of the customs value of your goods. What happens if you need to change residence? What you are, however, not exempt is RDL, which is the Railway Development. You decided you're going to move from the UAE, you're relocating back to Kenya, said you've come in, you've enjoyed the exemptions that I've just talked about. Probably within 90 days, you get another offer. I'm just giving a scenario. Within 90 days, you get another offer for a job in Iceland. And you already had enjoyed the exemption. What is required of you is that you will export those goods that we granted you exemption within 30 days. We assuming then you will require them to live with them in their residences. You need to export them within 30 days or such other period not exceeding 60 days. But should there be any other reason that you need a longer period, you can apply that to the commissioner. Anytime I mention the commissioner, I mean the commissioner of customs and border control. So that basically talks about a resident who has already enjoyed exemption but needs to change residence again. What about the aspect of motor vehicle? Remember we said returning residents enjoy exemptions on personal and household effects and motor vehicle. So what happens in the cases of motor vehicle? A returning resident is allowed to import a duty-free motor vehicle. We already excluded the buses and the minibuses. So it's a personal motor vehicle, subject to the following conditions. 1, the person must be returning to Kenya permanently. You're changing residence. You're done with your job. Your work permit is over. Whatever the scenario, you're changing residence. You're not just popping in for a holiday. 2, they must provide proof of ownership and use of motor vehicle. I mentioned this. The logbook should be able to clearly stipulate for at least 12 months. We have case scenario where someone comes in, I've owned my car for 9 months. Please, let's remember that KRA simply implements the law as it is. So that is where we are here to just inspire you. What does the law say? And remember, the law is made for us. So where it is a pain point, forward your proposals, we are willing to listen. We are willing to forward them to the National Treasury for deliberation and consideration. The motor vehicle must comply with KRA's requirement, which is to be a right hand and it will not be more than 8 years. They are familiar with the environment protection and all that, so 8 years old. The motor vehicle should be imported within 90 days of return. Remember, the goods must accompany you within 90 days. Should there be an eventuality that you can't control, you can apply for an extension for not more than 360 days of the commission. The motor vehicle should be consigned in the name of the returning resident. When the clearing agent that you have appointed is making the declaration, the consignee on that declaration needs to be the owner in the logbook and needs to be the Kenyan whose passport of the resident who is returning. So your passport, your logbook, and the customs declaration should have the same details. Kindly when it comes to the consignee who is the importer for this purpose. A person cannot be accorded an exemption on another motor vehicle subsequently imported within a period of 4 years. So if you enjoy the motor vehicle exemption, it runs for 4 years. And where the motor vehicle is imported after 4 years, all duties from the earlier exempted motor vehicle shall be paid. So you cannot, within 4 years, you cannot have 2 motor vehicles that are exempt. You will have to pay for one. Taxes are payable, and when the eventuality you brought in a motor vehicle, duty free by virtue of being a returning resident and meeting all the requirements. And now you get here, you're like, someone gives you a next offer, or you want to buy another car, you want to dispose. Upon disposal, kindly, if the person you're disposing to is not a tax exempt, is not an exempt person, kindly ensure that the taxes are being paid for. Replacement of left hand to right hand drive. Now, I understand UAE operates on the left hand, but I'll make that assumption. I can please share it in the chat. I believe they are willing and ready to appeal on that. A Kenyan resident returning from a country that operates the left hand shall be allowed to import a replacement right hand. Now, it is your right as a returning resident, as long as you meet the earlier requirement, that you bring in motor vehicle. Where what happens in the case scenario where you're living in a country, you bought a car, you've owned it for 12, you've owned and used it for 12 months, but it's a left hand drive. It is applied to you. You need to meet the following conditions. The person must be a bona fide changing residence permanently. We talked about that. The person must fulfill all the requirements for imposition of personal and household effects by a returning resident as outlined above. So all the requirements we have previously talked about, you need to be able to meet them. You must prove that you owned and used, that is a requirement we already talked about in the country, the left hand that we're talking about. The returning resident must provide proof of disposal. You need to be able to demonstrate to the custom officer that you have disposed, you no longer own the left hand drive that you had there. Because then if we allow you, you will be having one that you already have in the country that you are migrating from, and one that you're going to have here in Kenya. So you need to be able to demonstrate proof of disposal of the left hand drive before changing residence from the former country of residence. So if you had a sale contract, wherever proof of disposal is there in the country that you're already in, kindly make sure you carry with you, make sure you carry your logbook with you. Now, motor vehicles are valued within the KRA, which is the current retail selling price, which is available on our website from the platform download, and have a look at it. You'll be able to see the motor vehicle. You just search, is it a Range Rover, Sport, is it what kind of make, is it a diesel or petrol, has all those specifics, you'll be able to find your car. So the CRSP of the right hand, you are driving a left hand, you need to buy a right hand. The CRSP, which is the value of that right hand, shall not exceed that of previously owned AMH. Let me put that into context. You are driving a left hand Toyota Vitz. Allow me to just use it as an example. You cannot replace it. You can, but you won't qualify. You cannot replace the Toyota Fit and buy a Range Rover 3000 cc. I'm just elaborating example. A Range Rover 3000 cc and say, now give me an exemption from the Range Rover. No. The value of what you're disposing and what you're replacing needs to be the same. If not the same, what you've replaced it with cannot be higher than what you're disposing. And if that part is not clear, kindly please ask in the chat. We have a colleague waiting to answer that. The replacement vehicle must comply with the trade standards of ATRA. What are we exempting? We're exempting import, VAT, excise, and IDS. As earlier said, we pay the RDS, which is at 1.5%. What about in the cases of diplomats? Diplomats enjoy the same entitlement or exemptions as returning residents, and they have to meet the same limitations and timelines applicable to the returning residents. So all that we have said for the returning residents applies to diplomats. A deceased Kenyan dies abroad. What happens to his goods or his property? Used personal effects, subject to the limitations of the commission and imposed, are exempt. Goods, personal effects which are not for resale, so no one is coming to trade in them, are exempt. Have been the property of the deceased person. Remember, even the returning residents, we said it has to be your own personal property. It needs to be demonstrated as the property of the deceased person, have been inherited by or bequeathed to the person to whom they are consigned. So I'll take an example where you are an adult, probably you have a parent, God forbid they pass away, and you inherit something from them. As long as you can be able to demonstrate that, yes, this I've inherited it from this person or this deceased person. The personal effects include one motor vehicle which the deceased owned and used outside the person's place. So deceased will still, if they have a motor vehicle that they were using, then you can still be into the country and enjoy the exemption. We need a letter of grant issued by court of law or certified lien. At this point, I'd like also to emphasize all this information can be found in our Act, the ECMA, which is the East Africa Customs Community Management Act, online 2004. Now, which are the frequent scenarios that we are seeing? This is not limiting, but I just want to put it out there so that you know you're not alone. It's something that is frequent, it's something that we're working on. It's just our pain point. We do not like to trend on Twitter on the wrong aspect or with the wrong perception, because we are here to serve you. We endeavor, we envision to make sure that when you come to Kenya, you feel good coming back home. The frequent scenarios include and are not limited to undeclared goods whose value exceeds $500. I will repeat, Kenya Revenue Authority only implements the law as is. But the law is for us, so your proposals are welcome for any amendment. This includes gifts for family and friends, phones, perfume, alcohol, because just most of the time, the goods that we see. Remember, whose value exceeds 500. Not adhering to allowable limits. Remember, we talked about wine 2 liters, spirits 1 liter, so not adhering to that, but not adhering to the time limit that is required. You'll be told your goods needs to accompany within 90 days, you don't apply for an extension, your goods come at like 200 days. Then you feel like you're being harassed now, but the law was, if they're not here within 90 days, please apply for extension. Don't wait for the 91 days, that's when you start applying. Not entering the goods on time. This means when your goods come, and this is for goods that now are not in your company, like you're sent in a container, you already came into the country and the goods have come. The law section 34 of ECMA will talk about 21 days. You need to have entered, you need to have declared. We talk about you appointing a clearing agent, the clearing agent making a declaration, and you making tax payments for the taxes that are due. You need to do that within the 21 days. It is unfortunate to see returning residents being auctioned. It pains us as much as it pains me, in all honesty, because you are our brothers and sisters that have an interest. Not paying taxes upon disposal of duty free. We talked about that. You have a motor vehicle, you have a trade exemption. Upon disposal, kindly make pay taxes for them. You have your currency 10,000 USD. We're not going to ask you to pay taxes for them. We just need you to declare. Remember, one of our duties is trade certificate. We need to know. So kindly declare that. Kenyans seeking donations, imported donations, we really face challenge with it. It is a pain point because it will seem very illogical and not understanding when you have a Kenyan or even a foreigner at the airport saying, I have donations. They do not enjoy exemptions. By the law as it is, they do not enjoy exemptions. So for that, we kindly seek an understanding, and once again, where you have proposals, put them down. We will receive them and put them up to consideration to the National Treasury. Not knowing that there are other charges apart from duty, tax, or import. I already mentioned that. Sometimes someone will pay their taxes and you're like, why don't I have my container? Where is my goods? Forgetting that where the container was placed is a whole different agency, if it was under Kenya Ports Authority, or a whole different private entity if it was under a container-based station. Those people will charge you for storage, for handling. So there are all these other charges. So it's good to be aware of that. Not knowing the incentives available for investment, that I think also has been covered by DTD also. Now let's talk. It's good to highlight and take the bull by the horn. There are cases of where, and this we are responding to also because when your client speaks, you listen. So we've seen a lot of Twitter and social media response about corruption and integrity, and that's where we're here. Now, what are the measures KRA has put in place? We have automated most of our functions. Even now, if you're told to pay, you won't pay. There's no cashier system where you go and give a KRA officer money and they give you no. It will be generated online. It will be under your PIN. And when you make reference to it, you will go to the bank. You make sure there's bank, at least KRA has worked that out. There's a bank right there to operates 24 hours. You make your payment and take your goods. We create awareness. We constantly sensitizing people. And yes, there is a way to go in that, but also we have to give credit to ourselves. We've really improved on the areas of integrity, and it's a continuous work in progress for KRA and for Kenyans in general, including those in the diaspora. We have our integrity policies in place. We have a taxpayer charters that not just spells out the right and obligation, but also gives a time limit. You should be served within the time. You should expect a response within the time. So those are some of the measures we have taken. In the unfortunate event that there is an integrity issue that you encounter, handling or reporting, you can report under the IWISO. It's right there. There's a hotline phone number. There's an email for corruption reporting. There's a complaint and information center. And there's an informer reward system. All that is available for use. Now, there's a question on where do I get information? We can refer you to all the legislation, all the acts, but sometimes that can be a bit overwhelming to dig through and to find the product that you want. But we always encourage every citizen, get as much information as you want. It's not so good and so productive to wait for someone else to digest it for you. But in the event you have a very clear product, I want to trade in plastic BPV-free containers. This quantity, I hope to import it. These are the values. You just need guidance, someone to ask and say, what will be the taxes payable? Feel free. There's an email. There are emails there with different customs help desk. There's policy CBC where I'm currently stationed. There is a call center. There is a website for any information downloads are there. Social media. Of course, at this point, I will kindly ask that you limit social media to not bashing us. But it's also good to be honest. So we appreciate all the feedback, but it would be better if you give the feedback directly to us. Not all Kenyans have a light note. You can call the KRA contact center. You can visit us physically. We are also available at the regional center. We are also available at our different stations. The acts are there in the KenyaLaw.org. Any acts that I've made reference to for customs specifically, it will be the ECMA 2004. That is East Africa Customs Community Management Act. There is the East Africa Customs Common External Tariff. Those are the key documents that we'll be working on. Any ESC gazette. Remember, customs is not just regional in terms of it's restricted to just the country Kenya. Customs will implement what has been agreed under East Africa Community. So what I've just read to you, the USC 500. See it to get it, and it's not just for Kenyans. So this is going crazy, but it's not just for Kenyans. It's an East Africa Community thing. And for where you require permits from the other partner government agencies, and reach out to them. and get the necessary information from them. And at this point, I'd like to say thank you and I welcome any questions that have not been answered in the chat platform, but I hope we'll have in the interest of time. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adanje, for that elaborate presentation. You presented with a lot of clarity. I don't see a lot of question in the chat unless somebody has a burning one. There was a raised hand a while back. I can't see it now. Was it not Linda? I can't see that raised hand, but somebody had raised their hand. Rose,
yeah,
yes?
Hi. Yeah, that was
Hi, Rose.
Hi, how are you?
Yes, Rose. Yes, go ahead and ask your question.
Oh, my question is related to the earlier presentation. Now, my question is relating to the application for waiver, because is it the same thing as what you're campaigning, the campaigning that you're running right now? Because I have been affected by it. I applied for a waiver. That was in 2016, 2015, 16, and up to date, I haven't received any information. Nothing is happening on my portal, and every time I call, I just get the same thing. It's just like a back and forth.
Okay, thank you, Rose, for that question. Miriam and Linda, this is touching on amnesty. Meanwhile, customs team, just check on the chat whether there is any question that is not responded to so that we can respond. However, if somebody has a question, I will allow them to ask. Miriam? Or Linda?
Can I ask a question?
Just a minute. We have just received one. We are waiting for a response. Then we'll give you the floor to ask your question. Just a minute.
Can I be heard?
Yes, I can hear you. Linda, go ahead.
I need Rose to repeat her question because there was fluctuation on my end. I got the first part that she applied for a waiver, but I didn't get to hear what happened after the application.
So I applied for a waiver, and they told me to upload to provide some documents, which I did. And ever since, nothing has happened. Like, I sent an email, and there's been nothing that has happened on the forefront. So my questions are two: is the waiver the same thing as the amnesty? The amnesty that you are talking about? And number two, what happens in the case like that, because this has been such a long time? Like, what can you do to make sure that it goes through? Because from the information that you're giving me, we have up to the end of the year.
Okay, I get your concern.
Mm-hmm.
So the waiver process is what we had before the Finance Act filled that particular section. But with the amnesty, what happens is if you had penalties, I'm sure your waiver was because you had some penalties or some interest in some back years.
Yes, that was because of some penalty because of filing nil returns, which I didn't know I was supposed to file. So when I filed, they were late. Yeah.
Okay. So your penalties for late filing. So with the amnesty, if your penalties relate to 31st December 2022 and prior years, and you don't have any issues with principal tax.
Yes, mine have got nothing to do with principal tax because I've been non-resident. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you will get to enjoy the amnesty, which is automatic. You remember Miriam spoke of two types. There's the automatic, where you don't have outstanding principal.
Yes.
So once the system is run, then your penalties should automatically clear because you don't have any outstanding principal tax. So long as the penalties relate to 31st December 2022 and prior years.
Yeah, so does that mean I have to apply afresh for amnesty?
No, you don't need to. This is the automatic amnesty that we are talking about. Yes, Rose?
Okay. So I don't need to do anything else, just to clarify.
No, you don't need to do anything. You just need to check in because the waiver runs until 30th June 2024. And because of the capacity of the system, we are running it in batches. So those penalties that have already been removed from the ledger. So you have to keep checking. There's nothing that you need to do on your end because you don't have any people outstanding. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make sure I do that, and then I'll also keep following up with emails just to keep myself, just to take care of myself, to sort of like protect me back, as it were, because I'm very scared. Because can you imagine from 2016, 2017 up to we are now 2023? I mean,
yes,
nothing has happened. You can imagine my concern, can't you?
I can, and the concern is valid, and that's why we have amnesty. So you should be one of the beneficiaries of this amnesty. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Rose, and thank you, Linda, for your response. There was a gentleman who wanted to raise a question. Sorry, I didn't get your name, sir. Are you able to speak now?
Yes, my name is Isaiah.
Yes, Isaiah, go ahead. Yes.
Sorry, I was a bit late. So might be my question has been asked and answered, but I just wanted to know. I usually travel with at least 2 laptops, mainly my work laptop and my personal laptop. So I was just wondering, will I be okay next time I'm coming to the country, or will I be asked to pay the tax for them? Because they're actually my work laptop and my personal laptop.
Thank you, Isaiah, for that question. I'd like to invite Adanje to respond. There's another similar question. Somebody was asking, they are a student, they also have a personal laptop, they have a school laptop, and then they also have a tablet. Adanje, if you could combine the two and address the issue of having more than one similar device.
Thank you very much for that question. Thank you, Isaiah, and thank you, Ellie. I'll try to answer Ellie. First of all, I'd like to apologize on behalf of KRA and the eventualities that happen for you to have these concerns or these reservations. These are not our intention, and these are aspects that we are working on to ensure this will not happen again. But we also understand the aspect of social media, a lot can be taken out of context. With the apology done, I would like to clarify, just in relation to the presentations that I made, for as long as you can demonstrate it is your personal, and it's for your use.
Hello, can the respondent speak louder?
Can you hear me? At what point did
Yes, I could hear you.
We can hardly hear you.
I can barely hear you.
Okay, let me. Can you hear me now? Please confirm. Hello, can you hear me?
It's better. It's better.
Better? Okay. Did you get the part where we apologize for the eventualities that led to the kind of concerns that you're raising?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, to answer your question, for as long as you can demonstrate this is your property and you use it, it's within allowable quantities. And let's just be real here. There are people who will show up with 10 laptops. It has to be within reasonable quantities that you're bringing in. Because also we are trying to raise taxes, we are trying to make the market competitive enough. We don't want people to have an undue advantage of bringing in things without paying duties at the airport. If the person who has gone to all the travel, gotten all the permits and brought in a container, they cannot compete because the prices are so different. So that is where we are coming from. So the intention is not to harass you. So let's also understand that are you able to just demonstrate that these are for your personal use, these are things that you've been using, they are yours. There's someone who said, I'm a student, I've been given a laptop. That is fair enough. But let's not talk about, I've been given laptops. I show up at the airport with 6 laptops. It becomes a bit unreasonable. If you can be able to demonstrate, this is my personal. I live in Kenya and I have a personal one, I have a work one, I have a tablet. it is normal, it's within reasonable for something someone can be able to explain and the other person can be able to understand. So just remember the conditions that I stipulated in the presentation. It's your personal, you can be able to demonstrate ownership, you can be able to demonstrate usage, and it's within quantities that are reasonable for the officer to allow. You will enjoy exemptions on that. Let not that keep you away from your country. I hope I'm audible enough and the answer was clear. If it's not, please let me know. I'll gladly rephrase it for clarity.
Thank you.
I think it's quite clear for me, and thanks for answering.
Thank you very much for that question, Adanje. Kindly, I would like to request that we move on to our last presentation. However, if you still have more questions, please go to the chat board and put in your questions, and we'll be on standby to respond. Adanje, there's one touching on a mobile phone. If the value is more than 500 USD, will I still be taxed at the airport? Please respond on the chat. Meanwhile, if you could pull down your presentation, Karo Gitegi, if you can have yours, and then take us through your presentation. This last presentation is about the measures that KRA has put in place. I know most of our diaspora, rather than sisters, sometimes you get frustrated in the pursuit of getting services from government institution, KRA being one of them. And most of the times you would find yourself getting somebody to, because you're not here physically, to seek these services on your behalf, and they end up duping or getting money for services that are supposed to be rendered freely. So we have put in place some measures to help and support you. So it is important that you get to know what these measures are that are touching on corruption. So my colleague Caro will briefly speak about ethics, integrity, and national values, and just to enlighten you what measures KRA has put in place to fight this vice. So Caro, take maybe 10 minutes. Meanwhile, if you still have questions on the past presentation, feel free to put them on the chat board and we'll be happy to respond to them. Over to you, Caro.
All right, thank you very much, and all protocols observed. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. My name is Caroline Gitegi. I'm from the Department of Intelligence, Strategic Operations, Investigations, and Enforcement. Our main mandate is to mainstream ethics and integrity in KRA operations, and also just talk about also national values. We also touch on national values and the principles of governance. My presentation overview basically is about our mandate, what we do as a department. As I said, our department is intelligence, strategic operations, investigations, and enforcement. I'll talk about initiatives to curb corruption, and my colleague Andanje has mentioned highlights of it. I'll talk about national values and principles of governance. And our ladies and gentlemen from diaspora are still your Kenyans, and we have our national values that we have to embed and live by them. And lastly, I'll mention about informal reward, complaints, and corruption reporting. So with regard to our department for intelligence and strategic operations, investigation, and enforcement, our work basically is to collect intelligence, and we have a fully fledged division that deals with collection of intelligence for tax purposes. We do analysis and also dissemination for revenue mobilization or investigations. So we collect intelligence from all over, from our diaspora, from within Kenya. We normally get intelligence from our taxpayers, our informers, and also our various stakeholders. We do investigation, so we have a fully fledged division that deals with investigation of internal staff. For those who violate tax and customs laws, so we investigate violations of tax and customs laws in order to foster voluntary tax compliance for enhanced revenue. We do prosecutions for those who have been found culpable. So we prosecute violations of tax and customs, be it for our internal and also for our external stakeholders. We mainstream ethics and integrity. So we have a fully fledged division that mainstreams ethics and integrity through anti-corruption policies, compliance and monitoring. We have an internal affairs section that deals with investigation of our staff who are corrupt, and also we have a section that deals with external or rather the taxpayers. We also do vetting and background check for our staff, and if they are found culpable, appropriate measures are normally taken upon them. We have a section that deals with what we call a competent authority office, which deals with the exchange of information with other jurisdictions, be it jurisdiction like Abu Dhabi, be it Dubai. So we always get information on tax evasion, among other areas. We also have a fully fledged section that deals with complaints and corruption reporting, whereby we do receive, analyze, and also disseminate informal or whistleblower information. So what are the measures put in place by KRA to address corruption? I had Nancy mentioning about some. We have a fully fledged department. As I said, it's called Intelligence, Strategy, Operation, Investigation, Enforcement, which oversees integrity in KRA. We normally conduct our lifestyle audits. We do vetting for our staff. We do investigation on tax and also on tax evasion. KRA has automated its processes. One of them is ITAX, and you're quite aware about ITAX. About customs matters, we have the Integrated Customs Management System, ICMS. We have the Electronic Cargo Tracking System. We have the one-stop border posts, which initiatives that have been put in place to foster, to address corruption and also to expedite processes and trade facilitation. We have taxpayers charter that spells out the rights and obligations of taxpayers, and you can access the taxpayers charter via KRA website. We normally train our taxpayers, the public, on ethics, integrity, and national values. And also, like today, we are just creating awareness to our stakeholders on the same. We do investigations on staff. We do investigations on staff and tax evaders and enforcement of our KRA code of conduct. And lastly, we have policies such as our gift policy, code of interest policy, and whistleblower policies that are meant to address these matters of corruption. So just to touch on these policies, like the KRA anti-corruption policy, KRA is zero tolerance towards corruption. So we advocate for integrity in our processes. We have a gift policy, and we always urge our stakeholders, we always urge our taxpayers not to give gifts to our staff to expedite their processes. Whenever time you give a gift to our staff to expedite your process, or maybe you give him money that is bribery, it results to impairment of judgments. Maybe it results to corruption. So we always urge our taxpayers not to give gifts, not to give donations to our staff, because our staff are supposed to work. They're supposed to be selfless servants and to support our taxpayers. We have a whistleblower policy, where this policy is applicable to our staff, KRA staff, and also our stakeholders, and also our taxpayers. And with regard to this policy, taxpayers or our stakeholders are urged to give information, to be whistleblowers, to give information without fear, reprisal, victimization, or discrimination. And lastly, we have a conflict of interest policy. Conflicts normally happen when interest comes first, but not the interest of our own, the interest of the country, the interest of the institution. So a conflict of interest basically is a situation in which someone in a position of trust has competing or professional and personal interests, such as competing interests can make it difficult to fulfill his or her duties fairly. This could be actual, it can be potential, and it can be perceived interest. Example, as I said, giving gifts, or rather staff being given gifts from friends, from suppliers, from taxpayers, from diaspora to expedite a process. Such may impair judgments of our stakeholders. Last but not least, in our constitution, under Article 10.2, we are required to uphold the national values and the principles of governance. Under Article 10.2, it talks about 17 national values, and I've just shared them here in our presentation. I'll just mention one of them is patriotism, and we are being urged to pay our taxes voluntarily and also to love our country. We are supposed to uphold national unity. We are supposed also to observe sharing and devolution of power, rule of law, to obey our law. We are supposed to be democratic and also participate, like today you're participating in these engagements. Human dignity, we are supposed to respect each other. Equity, the same. We are supposed to foster equity in what we do. We are supposed to uphold social justice. This is with regard to our constitution. We are being urged that we are supposed to foster social justice in terms of just being careful on the welfare of individuals, and the ministry or rather Ministry of Affairs is of course concerned about your welfare so that you can be well informed. The same for KRA. We will continuously create awareness to you. Inclusivity is quite important in our modus operandi, and with regard to inclusivity, we ensure that we have an equal measure participation of people from various areas. They have to be informed on our processes. We have, of course, human rights, offering services to all persons without bias. That is quite important in our processes. We also endeavor to foster integrity in our work. And integrity is whereby we are doing the right things when no one is watching us. This is whereby our words, our actions are incongruent. Also, protection of the marginalized also is a national value in the constitution. And with regard to KRA, we also endeavor to safeguard people who are having various challenges and also to speak for the voiceless. And with regard also to good governance, it's a national value. You're supposed to be accountable in the management of our public resources. We also have our transparency and accountability as a national value. It is also about accountability and management of our resources. And lastly, sustainable development. We need to remember the future generation. Yeah, so we have 17 national values, and I just want to remind us that we need to uphold these national values, be it in diaspora. We just need to share them with our friends, our family members, to remind them that we need to love our country. So in case there are any, we want to report corruption, we have our new baby in the house is called I Whistle, where you whistle and we act. Whenever time we're in diaspora or any place, you can report all bribery, concealment, abuse of office, conflict of interest, fraud, diversion of goods, and tax evasion cases through HPS I Whistle at KRA.ke, and your information will be treated with utmost confidentiality. So you whistle and we act. You can also write an email to us through CIC at KRA.ke, or you can write to corruption reporting at KRA.ke if you want to report any corruption. If you are in Kenya, you can walk into our office in Times Tower, 26 Law, or any other KRA office and report any forms of corruption. You can write to our Commissioner General, CIC Complaints and Information Center. Our address is 48 to 40. You can also telephone us, you can call us. Maybe you can take a pic of this. Our number 0726 984 668 or 0709 017 700/800. We also have a toll-free number, is 0800 721 888. We have an informal reward. Whenever time you give us information resulting to tax evasion, or we have maybe taxpayers from diaspora, from United Arab Emirates, or engaged in corruption. Whenever time you give us information that enables us to collect revenue, we have a framework called Informal Reward Framework, which is an incentive to the public to share information that can lead KRA from the tax evaders to recover tax revenue. So under Section 5A of the KRA Act, it provides that a person is entitled to a reward as follows: whether the information leads to recovery of unassessed taxes or duties, we are able to give a person 5 million or 5% of the taxes or duties recovered, whichever is less. So we normally reward our informers with 5% of what has been recovered or duties that have been recovered to a maximum of 5 million. So that's what I had for us. Thank you very much, and let's uphold integrity. You can write to us, integrity@kra.go.ke. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carol, for that presentation and for taking as little time as possible, but I hope it has been valuable to our participants to appreciate that KRA not only provides services, but is also cautious about how it does its operations and how it renders those services to our taxpayers, that integrity is key, transparency is key, and that we uphold the national values as a government agency. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions in the chat. I want to appreciate every KRA technical staff online who is working to respond to these questions. If there are any further questions, please do let us know. There's a link that has been shared by my colleague Brenda. Look out for that link. It has this recording. If you joined us late, or if you wish to listen to it later, or if you wish to share to your friends, your siblings, to also get to understand what we have learned today, please do so. Get the link in the chat before we end this meeting. I don't know whether there's any burning issue. I would like to give 1 or 2 opportunities to any of the colleagues to maybe see to clarify if there are any issues you feel that we have not clarified. Team KRA, anyone who wish to maybe give a clarity on a particular matter. Peter, I see you online. Filgona, if there's any matter you feel that we need to clarify, I wish to give you an opportunity. If none at the moment, Ongeri from the Abu Dhabi mission, I don't know whether you want to say hello to us. If you are able to, we'll be happy to hear that you guys are good there and you're also providing services on our behalf, and our Kenyan brothers and sisters are good. Are you able to speak, Mr. Ongeri?
Yes, I'm able to speak. Good evening.
Good evening.
It has been my pleasure and that of my colleagues to join you this evening. And we are very grateful for the information we have received.
Okay.
Once more, I need to say sorry if that the ambassador was not able to join.
Okay.
Yeah, because of other engagements with the host government.
Okay.
We are very grateful and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. We truly appreciate your support as well as KRA, and also on behalf of the ministry, thank you for communicating and sending out this communication to our brothers and sisters abroad. Even those who did not get an opportunity to come, I'm sure they'll be reaching out, and I hope that you are now better placed to share or give some clarity.
Exactly.
Where this, so we truly appreciate, and the beauty is that this recording is available to you. And please spread the gospel, especially areas around returning citizens and what they need to pay and what they don't need to pay. They should not fear coming back home and bringing us. We are waiting for these gifts, but they should not bring them in gunias. Acceptable quantities, as has been shared, is allowed, and they should not fear coming back home. We are looking forward to having you back in the whole for the holidays in December. So thank you very much. Colleagues, I don't see anyone who wants to add something in terms of clarifying on any issue. I would like to invite Boniface for your last closing remarks on behalf of the ministry before we bring this meeting to an end. I know it's about 9 or 8:30 in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, so we need to be also very considerate of the time. Yeah. Mr. Boniface, thank you. I don't know whether you are. Yes, I can. I don't know whether now you are able to put on your video. Yes, I could.
Let me see how I can do that.
Okay.
It's not very good, but
thank you. There you are. We can see you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. First, I want to say thank you to the nations in Abu Dhabi and Dubai for really ramping up the participation in this webinar. We want to say that this is a good beginning. We'd like to do more like this.
Continue, finish.
Yes, and I also want to thank the chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Diaspora and Migrant Workers who came in and made her remarks. To thank all the presentations, Linda, Miriam, Adanje, all of them about issues on tax amnesty. The reminder is always file your returns, even if you have nil returns. Yes, and the other issues, I think will be, if there are any other questions, I think they will be put in the chat question, and then they can be collected so that they can be responded to in a systematic manner to the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora, so that we can disseminate this to the missions, specific missions, especially for the ones that came in late, so that the missions, like the mission in Abu Dhabi, can use their available channels, whether through social media or town hall meetings or through any other channels, to disseminate this information and to demystify some of the matters that have been going around in the press. With all that, I think I want to say thank you to everybody this evening. Thank you to the KRA team, Sheila, well done. And good evening, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Brian Mutule, you want to speak?
Yes, please. Sorry, I just joined late, and it was a good opportunity to hear your presentation. However, I was just asking, is there a session for Qatar residents? Because we got this one from social media, and I just saw it very late. And it's very important for us because we've been seeing so much in social media that it's really misleading and scaring us. And it's really important and also for us Qatarians to be covered as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mutule, for that concern. We had a session previously for Qatar, but we have scheduled Qatar again. It was, but there's another one coming. And also KRA and the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, we are working on some communication that will be released to all missions. So this is coming. This will be disseminated soon to all of us. So that is happening. However, even if you are in Qatar and you get an opportunity to join any, the beauty of this virtual meeting is that you can attend it from any other, any place in the world.
Yeah, you're
so
right.
Happy to have had you. Yes, happy to have you in this call. The message that we have shared, or the communication or the presentation we've had, is available through the link that is on our chat. But we will purpose through that, and once we do, we will get your details from the registration and we'll share with you the invitation.
Sure, really appreciate, and thank you very much.
Thank you for that observation. We really appreciate your presence.
So I live here with my family. So I want to come for Christmas. So I hope I will not be bundled into some container.
No one will bundle you. No one will bundle you. Please come home with your family and have a good time back home. Please do that. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, colleagues and brothers and sisters. We have come to an end of this exciting webinar. It has been very insightful to learn and to hear your concerns and to provide you with clarification in areas that you wanted to see clarification on. Thank you very much, Director, for even sitting through. But I would like to invite my colleague George to give closing remarks on behalf of KRA. And I think at that point we'll just tutasema kwaheri and good evening. But before then, please allow George to give some few closing remarks. Then we can wrap it at that point. George, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Thank you, team. I want to appreciate Boniface Mulsala, Director, Savings, Investment and Remittance, for representing the Ambassador Abu Dhabi. I want to thank all the diaspora family for joining in this call. I will also want to thank the presenters from the revenue departments, the customs and domestic taxes. Also to appreciate Honorable Lydia Aika, the chairperson, Committee on Diaspora Migrant Workers Committee, for having time to join us. And for us, we are very thankful for all those who participated and asked questions. And going forward, we will be engaging you more in the diaspora so that we move together as a team and we share the issue of taxation, and also to clarify areas which are not which are gray, so that we work as a team with our Kenyans in the diaspora. Otherwise, on behalf of KRA, I would wish to thank all of you, and I wish you a nice evening. Hope to meet you soon in another engagement. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Before we walk out of the room, kindly let's put on our videos on. Let us see who was in the room so that we can appreciate. If you can wave, please wave. Put your videos on. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. It is late, but you are still here. We truly appreciate it. Asanteni sana sana. We wish you all the very best. in your areas of work. We appreciate you sending us some little cash home. We truly appreciate, and of course, we are here to serve you. Feel free to reach to KRA, reach us the platforms we have shared, reach out to the Ministry, State Department of Diaspora Affairs, and you will be assisted. Thank you very much and have a nice evening. Thank you.
I realize too, some people might be doing unsavory things on camera. That's why we can't have them all.
We can leave. Thank you very much, Team KRA. As always, asanteni sana.
Ended.